Hey guys, today I'm going to cover a couple events that happened over the past week or so here. The first one I want to look at here is this May 16th blood moon that happened in Libra. And this is just going to be the kind of the condensed version of the information I have here, just to kind of make it a quick video. But we had the blood moon eclipse on May 16th in the constellation of Libra, and this would have been Eastern time. And this was kind of interesting, an event that happened in Milford Mill, Maryland. There was an explosion at a nail salon, at the Libra Nail Salon in Milford Mill, Maryland, on the night of May 16th. So the same day as the blood moon eclipse in Libra, we had the building fire explosion with hazmat. Hazmat's interesting because, the nail salons have all kinds of, chemicals, nail polish removers. And that kind of reminds me of wormwood, because wormwood is the poisoning of the water. It's the bitterness. So kind of interesting. I think there's a kind of a connection there with the hazmat being called out with the building fire at the Libra salon on the day of the Libra blood moon eclipse. And like I said, this is the condensed version. There's more to this, but kind of an interesting synchronicity. I don't even know, I don't know if this is real or fake or whatever, but certainly it was put out there for us to look at. So either way, so coincides with the blood moon eclipse for May 16th. And then also in the past week here, we had the 11th anniversary of 9/11 on May 20th on the Martian calendar. So May 20th, 2022 was the 11-year anniversary of the events of 9/11 on the Mars calendar. And what's kind of interesting here, if we look at the relationship here they have between the Gregorian calendar and the Mars calendar here, the Darien date they call it, you can see Earth is in May, and the month of Leo is the Mars month here, but it kind of is straight across from August here. And after I get done showing you the stuff for this date here for May 20th, I'm going to look at August 2022. There are so many interesting connections here coming up in August to the golden ratio and some other things going on with the moon. But when you change the year here, of course, if we look at May 20th, 2021, Mars will move to a different month. It'll be across from basically February here. Or if you were to move, the Martian year, Earth will move on this little chart the way they have it set up here. The Earth will move. But just kind of interesting that this 11th anniversary, we kind of in Mars in Leo, and it kind of coincides with August on the way they have this diagram set up with the interaction between these two calendars here. So, and then we're going to be looking at August here in a second. But I had made a video a month or two ago, or even probably longer than that. I think back in even October, I talked about this date, May 20th coming up being the anniversary of 9/11 on the Martian calendar. And so I was kind of looking for news stories again that they put in front of us that would kind of connect to Mars. And of course, Mars is the red planet. And before I had connected that to the Rust shooting, because Mars, of course, it's supposed to be have an iron oxide surface, and the movie Rust kind of seemed to be a precursor, date ritual kind of coinciding with this anniversary coming up here. That was back in October, but today on the 20th, Jason Geiger, the actor who played the Red Power Ranger, he was in indicted for loan fraud. And of course, you know, the Red Power Ranger, the Red Planet. And then his name is also Austin St. John. And when I talk about August here coming up, I'm going to connect it to also the X eclipses. The two eclipses that form an X that will cross over at Carbondale, Illinois. The second eclipse, the second All-American or Great American eclipse is going to pass, the path of totality is going to pass over Austin. And then we have this Austin St. John. His name is Jason Geiger, and when I see that last name Geiger, it makes me think of like radiation, you know, like a Geiger counter, but there's a connection here to what I've been talking about with this twins symbolism here, with the birth certificated twin that you have, this legal fiction person that's created. Basically, this legal fiction person is created to pay back debt for the United States. The legal fiction person is the one that has to follow all the statutes and codes, and if you don't, you get fined and you have to pay taxes. So I mean, the birth certificated person or legal fiction is the debt repayment, is the fictional debt repayment person that you're commingled with. Okay, and I'll kind of show you how that works here too. Some interesting number connections with this idea with debt collection and the moon that's coming up in August here, but the reason this guy got indicted was he created he was registering sham non-operational businesses and then taking out loans on those fictional businesses, which is almost exactly what's been done to us. Is you know, the United States can take out loans on our future you know, earnings potential, or whatever you want to call it, and then we're taxed and all that. But it's just super interesting that on this day, the Red Power Ranger, you know, the God of War, was arrested here. Austin St. John, you know, the radiation connection there, but he was indicted anyway for taking out loans on fake businesses or fictional businesses. So very interesting for the connection there to May 20th. And Mars was actually in Pisces on May 20th. Kind of interesting too, coming up in I think 6 more days we have a Mars-Jupiter conjunction. So it's another interesting day to watch out for. May 29th, that's, I believe, what is it? I want to say it's the 105th anniversary of the birth of JFK on May 29th with the Mars-Jupiter conjunction. So that's kind of an interesting day coming up as well. But let's take a look at this August date that's coming up. Like I said, this on this chart here with our interaction between the Mars calendar and the Gregorian calendar, you can see Mars is across from Leo. Mars is the god of war, the red planet, and the first thing I'm going to do here is connect this August date. I covered a couple August dates in the last video I did, but a couple years ago I did a video on June 3rd, 2020, and June 3rd, 2020 was a special date. It was the anniversary of the Revelation 12 sign, and that Revelation 12 sign was a Venus transit. That happened to be a Venus-Sun inferior conjunction, or a Venus-Sun pentagram point, and it's the 13:8 Earth-Venus orbital ratio that creates the pentagram of Venus, or the rose of Venus. They're both kind of interchangeable, but the rose of Venus, or the pentagram of Venus, and then it's the intersecting lines of a pentagram define the golden ratio. So we have the golden ratio connection, and I'll be showing all the golden ratio connections here for August. Not all of them, but a bunch of them for you guys to look at here. But the pentagram of Venus, pentagram defines the golden ratio on the intersecting lines of the pentagram, and then it's also called the rose of Venus. So August 3rd, or excuse me, June 3rd, 2020, we had this anniversary, the Sun and Venus, another inferior conjunction on the anniversary in the same location in Taurus as the Revelation 12 sign, and it just happened to be 978 weeks after 9/11, and on the clock 978 minutes is the time of 1618, the golden ratio. I already went through this video, but you can read this through again. But even in Revelation 9:11 is the 154th verse of Revelation, and we divide that into the total number there for 404 verses, 250 divided by 154, or vice versa. You get the closest approximation of the golden ratio with the verse of 9:11 in the book of Revelation. But what I want to show you guys here with that, go back into 6/3/2020 to August 23rd, 2022, 811 days. Of course, that's what my channel's all about. Revelation 8:11, the wormwood star, the poisonous star that contaminates the water. Anyways, we go to this this anniversary date of the Venus Sun inferior conjunction and the Revelation 12 sign. Add 811 days, we get to 8/23/2022, and that's a very interesting day because that's the celebration of Rose of Lima, and her feast day is August 23rd. Remember, it's the Venus Sun inferior conjunctions that make the rose of Venus, or the pentagram of Venus. So, and then the 8/11 connection. When we start our pentagram count here at number 1 with the Revelation 12 sign, the United States was founded on the 8th month, 11th day after a completed Venus pentagram. So there's the 8/11 connection there. But just interesting that this kind of golden anniversary date of the 9/11 and the Revelation 12 sign at 811 days gets us to 8/23, which is the feast day for the Rose of Lima. And then in my last video, I had covered the Winging It is Not an Emergency Plan from ready.gov. So we'll be on the 9-year anniversary of Winging It is Not an Emergency Plan, right? The winged solar disk is associated with Planet X, aka Wormwood. If you kind of go down that, kind of look at that path or whatever. But Winging It is Not an Emergency Plan. 9-year anniversary. 9 is the number of completion. And then if we look at that date, August 28th, 2022 is August 27th, the preceding day, is lunation 1233 for the moon, and that's the reverse or mirror of 3321, which is the magic square of the moon. So this beginning August 27th, very significant, number connection to the moon. And then, as I've showed you guys before, we have 1233 lunation, and to calculate the millennium lunation, you subtract 953, and it's 280. Millennium lunation 280 begins on August 27th. But without the 0, we have a 28, and I'm going to show you kind of how this connects with something else here. I want to show you the U.S. Code Title 28, whatever here. This is kind of interesting connection, but first we'll go through the rest of these August dates. August 28th, the 9th anniversary of Winging It. And then the other connection here is Barack Obama on 8/11. He's going to be 61 years and 8 days old on 8/11/2022 coming up here. So the golden ratio is 61 years, 8 days, 618. And then, of course, I showed you guys this before. And Barack Obama, he signs his O as the symbol for phi. The circle with a line through it's the symbol for the golden ratio, or phi. So kind of interesting. On 8/11, Barack Obama will be 61 years, 8 days old. The golden ratio signs his name with the golden ratio. And another date in August that's very interesting, connected to the golden ratio, 8/19. And, 8/19, if we just rotate it, it becomes a 6/18 when you rotate it. And it just happens to be six months and 18 days into the Tiger year. Tiger year, Chinese zodiac Tiger year began on February 1st, 2022. 8/19 is 6 months, 18 days. And, 8/19 rotates. And I'm going to do a video. I talked about it when this happened back in January, when Bob Saget died. He died on a Venus pentagram point. And that'll be a whole separate video, but he's connected to this 8/19 date and connected to the Venus pentagram point because of his death on January 9th, the day of that Venus-Sun inferior conjunction. 6 months, 18 days into the Tiger year. And then talking about the eclipses. We have the Great American Eclipse on August 21st, 2017. And then we have the coming Great American Eclipse, the second one, on April 8th, 2024. That'll make the X over Carbondale, Illinois. But what was interesting about these two eclipses is there just happened to be a solar eclipse exactly at the halfway point between those two eclipses. That was over Argentina. The half-X eclipse, I did several videos about this, but at the exact halfway point between the Great American Eclipses, that was 12/14/2020. And then if we go to August 24th, it's 618 days after the half-X eclipse. Or if you went to that Rose of Lima feast day, and counted the end date, that's 618 days. But either way, just another August. August has so many connections to the golden ratio. And then I'm going to do a separate video on Bob Saget with 8/19, and I'm also going to do a separate video just on 8/11. There's some numbers here connecting to 9/11 and some other events that are pretty interesting, that connect and kind of validate numbers I've been showing you for several years now. Pretty interesting stuff there, but I'll get back to that in another separate video. But like I showed you guys here, we have lunation 1233 coming up in August, which will be millennium lunation 280. And this kind of relates to the twin theme here, their little debt collection, legal fiction person. But if we look at the U.S. Code Title 28, Organization of Courts, Department of Justice, Court Officers, Employees, all this stuff here. We're going to go to Part 6, Particular Proceedings. Then we're going to look at 176, Federal Debt Collection Procedure. And we're going to look at definitions. Just want to look at a couple definitions here, of course. I mean, this is nothing new, or that maybe you probably don't know already, but I just think it's kind of interesting that a judgment means an order or decree entered in the favor of the United States in a court arising from a civil or criminal proceeding regarding debt. So that'd be the definition of a judgment. And you go to 15a. Of course, definition of United States means federal corporation. So if you're a United States citizen, you're a federal corporate citizen. But just interesting that that's U.S. code, 28 U.S. code, and then we have in August millennium relation 280. Without the 0, we have the 28. So I think August is a big month with all the golden ratio connections. And yeah, this connection here, this was in Taurus, right? The bull is related to financial markets, and the rose connection with Venus and the rose of Lima. And the blood moon was actually predominantly over South America, right? In Lima, that rose of Lima is from Lima, Peru. Right, that was our the prime location was South America for this last blood moon eclipse. May 16th UTC time, Eastern time as well. But just want to show you guys all those connections. Then we have the coming eclipse, the 2024 eclipse. Like I said here, we had the Austin St. John being indicted for loan fraud. And the eclipse will pass over. The totality of the eclipse is going to pass over Austin, Texas. Austin St. John, right? John wrote the book of Revelation. Lots more to cover, but just want to do a quick one with all the golden ratio connections to August, on the Martian calendar anniversary and the blood moon eclipse. Okay, guys, thanks for watching.